Kurt McFall was born on December 9th, 1966, in San Diego, California. Growing up in a suburban environment, he was known to be a bright and popular student at Clayton Valley High School. Friends described him as confident, energetic, and caring. He participated in extracurricular activities such as the school newspaper and yearbook clubs, and was passionate about subjects like math and science. Aside from academics, Kurt loved the outdoors and was an avid participant in recreational activities, including swimming and cliff climbing. His early interest in Dungeons and Dragons eventually led him to join the Society for Creative Anachronism, a group dedicated to reviving medieval customs. On Saturday, September 8, 1984, Kurt left his home in Concord, California, and drove across the Bay Bridge into San Francisco. He planned to spend the night with a friend and return home on Sunday evening. However, what transpired that night remains uncertain. According to accounts from those close to him, Kurt had grown increasingly involved in a world far removed from his upbringing. In addition to his participation in the SCA, he had become interested in the occult and had joined a group focused on pagan religion. A high school friend later revealed that Kurt had mentioned his involvement in a satanic cult that dabbled in black magic. The friend explained that Kurt felt trapped by the group and feared for his life if he tried to leave. 2 days after his disappearance, on Monday, September 10th, 1984, two birdwatchers exploring the rugged cliffs at Land's End in San Francisco Bay made a grim discovery. They found the bruised and half-naked body of Kurt McFall on a remote beach below the cliffs. His body was missing a shirt, shoes, and socks, and it displayed multiple traumatic injuries, along with severe blood loss. The physical condition of his body was puzzling. Despite the injuries, there were only minor abrasions noted on parts of his body, and there was no sign of substances in his system. Notably, empty beer bottles were scattered around his abandoned car. This car was found on a golf course overlooking the ocean, and investigators noted several other unusual details at the scene. His driver's license was discovered on the floor, and his car keys were left on the seat. Notably, the prized suit of armor he had purchased for his SCA activities was missing from the trunk. The San Francisco coroner determined that Kurt died from multiple traumatic injuries and severe blood loss. While the report suggested that his injuries were consistent with a fall from the cliff, it also noted that the precise cause of those injuries could not be conclusively established. Initially, investigators believed that the death was caused by a probable accidental fall from climbing the cliffs. However, the coroner himself later remarked that an intentional act was a plausible cause, even though there was insufficient evidence to file criminal charges. As a result, the death was officially classified as unknown and left the case unresolved. One of the most controversial aspects of the case involves Gabriel Carrillo, who used the Welsh name Caradoc in his role as a leader within a neo-pagan group. Carrillo was known to have befriended Kurt and allowed him to spend nights at his apartment. On the night of his death, Carrillo recounted that Kurt had gone swimming at Ocean Beach and later knocked on his door around 3 a.m., stating that he was returning to the beach. Carrillo suggested that Kurt may have taken too many risks that night and possibly slipped or was caught by an undertow. While Carrillo maintained that Kurt's death was an accident, Kurt's father and some of his friends remained suspicious of his account. Over the years, several theories have been put forward to explain Kurt McFall's mysterious death. The first theory is the simplest, that he sustained injuries as the result of an accidental fall. Given the treacherous nature of the cliffs at Land's End, it's entirely plausible that Kurt may have lost his footing while climbing or while trying to get into the water. Supporters of this theory point to the lack of trauma on his body supportive of a struggle. Another theory is that Kurt was pushed off the cliff, suggesting foul play. This perspective is largely influenced by the observations of his father, Tom McFall, who firmly believes that his son didn't die by accident. Tom argued that Kurt would have been more adept at handling the cliff terrain. However, what I think might be missing from this perspective is the fact that one should absolutely not be climbing cliffs at night, let alone on dark and stormy nights. Further, he found that the peculiar staging at the scene, such as the beer bottles around the car and the missing suit of armor, indicates deliberate tampering. And quick note, as I was editing the video for this, I realized I left out a key fact about the beer bottles. Kurt's friends and family confirmed that he wasn't a drinker. Now, I don't put a lot of weight in his dad saying that, but the fact that all his friends agreed as well is definitely important. A third explanation claims that the crime scene was altered after Kurt's death. According to discussions on various forums, some believe that local vagrants or opportunistic individuals might have come upon Kurt's abandoned car and tampered with the scene. They suggest that the beer bottles and other items may have been left by these individuals, rather than being part of a larger occult conspiracy. This theory attempts to reconcile the accidental fall scenario with the oddities found at the car, arguing that the scene might have been unintentionally changed by unrelated parties. Kurt's case captured public attention largely because it emerged during the height of the satanic panic of the 1980s. It was often presented in a sensationalist way, attempting to tie his death into broader popular narratives that were being pushed in the media at the time. In my opinion, the most likely explanation for Kurt McFall's tragic death is that it was simply an accident. The available evidence, including his autopsy showing no signs of substances, suggests that a fall from the precarious cliffs of Land's End was a misfortune rather than a deliberate act. While occult theories are tempting, the simplest explanation often proves true, and in this case, an accidental fall appears to be the most plausible scenario. Also, I note that Gabriel Carrillo was portrayed as a Satanist at the time, but having looked into it further, he was a Wiccan with an interest in ancient Celtic traditions. I found a whole bunch of unverified accounts online from people who claim to have known him as Caradoc. Every account I've read says that he was interested in white magic and doing good and positive things in the world. It sounds much less sinister when presented that way in my view, and I think media sensationalism and the satanic panic overlay had a lot to do with this mystery.